Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Successful Women's TV show. My name is Galit Ventura-Rozen. I am a professional speaker, author, and co-founder of Everyday Woman TV. One of my favorite things to do is interview women from all over the world that are doing amazing things in their businesses. Today, I am excited to have with me Kim. Welcome, Kim.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Galit.
I love the view from your window. What floor are you on?
So I am on the sixth floor. I am in a suburb or a city in Milwaukee. So I'm in this pocket of Milwaukee, and right out there overlooks the river, which
Oh,
feeds
how beautiful.
to
That's what I can
Lake
see.
Michigan.
I can see the river. It's such a beautiful
Yeah.
view, and I love that. I love that you can have that in your background and then it doesn't mess up the light. You know how sometimes when you have the light between
Yeah.
you and you
Yeah.
just look so fabulous. So thank you
Oh,
for
thank you.
joining me all the way from Wisconsin. Is it cold there?
Oh, yes.
The
That is
snow?
ice out
Yeah, I
there.
was going to say you've got to have snow already.
Yes.
I
Yes.
won't tell you that it's 67 here today.
No,
Oh,
keep
wait,
that
I
to
just
yourself.
did. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we're just so blessed here. We did
Oh,
have a winter, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
yeah.
So I'm going to share a little bit about you, and we'll jump right into your topic. I'm excited to talk about how working moms can thrive without overwhelm. I'm a mama, and I remember working from before my child was born, my children are born. I'm excited for you to share some of those tips. So here we go. Kim Rogne is CEO owner For the Love of. What a beautiful name. Kim Rogne is a dynamic keynote speaker, leadership trainer, and #1 best-selling author, passionate about inspiring driven professionals to thrive in every aspect of their lives. With 25 years of experience in real estate sales, we have that in common.
Yeah.
I'm at 28 years now in commercial real estate. Crazy. We're not old enough for that, are we? No, we're not old enough. Real estate sales, brokerage management, and business investing. Kim has worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs, guiding them through challenges from startup to success. As a former CEO of a multi-million-dollar brokerage, she understands the unique needs of business owners and uses her expertise to empower them to achieve balance and purpose. We'll have to have a conversation about that another day.
Yeah,
I
totally. I'd
still
love to
have
come
my
back and
commercial real
talk about
estate.
that.
I still do
Yeah.
commercial real estate every single day.
Nice.
No, I love
Nice.
it. Well, thank you for being here. I would love to jump right in and just start sharing those tips of how women can thrive and not be overwhelmed when they're working. Because I think overwhelm is such a common word for so many of us women moms.
Yes, it is such a common word. And when I think about the word overwhelm, it's really a state of being, right? There's a difference when we say I'm overwhelmed and when I'm feeling overwhelmed. And when we say we're feeling overwhelmed, just like any feeling, if we can understand it, have awareness, we can change it. And so, I mean, it's hard. I understand. I can remember when my kids were little, my husband he's now retired as a firefighter, but when he was working 24, 48, sometimes 96 hours. So I was a single mom a third of the year. I know what that feels like. And I had always been the main breadwinner because also I wanted to. I felt fulfillment from my work, but there were times where I wanted to pull my hair out and where I felt guilty when I was at work because I wasn't at home. And then when I was at home, I felt guilty because I wasn't working. And so when I think about overwhelm, it first starts with really getting clarity on what you really want without judgment and comparison. And so a really good example I can give is my kids are now semi-adulting. They're in their 20s, and I say semi-adulting because they're still on our phone plan. We still pay their insurance, and they take toilet paper whenever they visit. So they're semi-adulting. But what I do in the morning is very different than what I did in the morning when my kids were 4 and 6. Right. And so if somebody sees me on social media or they hear that I'm journaling and sipping my coffee and enjoying myself, and then they go try to compare themselves to that, they instantly will feel overwhelmed because there is no clarity on what do I want right now, given the phase of my life that I am in. And when we are working moms, we go through so many different phases.
You and I have a lot of parallels. So similar. It's amazing. We'll definitely have to connect offline, but I'm excited about today because I started my first business right before my firstborn. And I remember having him in a bouncer. And at those days, it was a landline. And I was managing my first real estate property. It was a commercial real estate property. And I just remembered, and I have three kids. The oldest is, they're all in their 20s, but there's only 7 years between the oldest and the youngest.
Yeah.
So I know that somehow we do it, Kim. I swear sometimes I look back, I don't know how, but we do it. I will tell you in this phase of my life, and I love how you say that. I only have my youngest living with me. He's 21 in school. And I will go to the office because I have actually a work office. And I'll go to the office and then I'll do everything that I have to do for that day or choose to do that day. And then I'll get in the car and I'll immediately feel overwhelmed. And it's the funniest thing because I've started changing my mindset. And instead of calling my husband on the way home, because I always do, even though it's only a 15-minute drive, I'm like, oh my God, baby, I feel so overwhelmed. I stopped using that word because I attached so much meaning to it. And I started using the word instead, I accomplished so much today. But it's almost like this, I'm finally stopping and I go, what do we tell those listening and watching that experience what I do? And how can they stop feeling so overwhelmed now that, remember, that was my clarity, right? It worked exactly with what you said. My clarity was, why do I keep feeling overwhelmed? Why do I keep saying that? Stop it. You're not overwhelmed. You got everything done you wanted to do. Then I drive home and I don't work for the rest of the night. So what do we share so those that are feeling that now that they have the clarity can stop feeling that?
Yes. I love, first of all, that you said slow down and breathe, because you know, if right now you're listening and you're feeling overwhelmed, it's first taking a moment to slow down, think about everything that's on your brain, and whether it's work or personal, because we're whole people. And I like to coach to doing what's called a brain dump. So I'm like, okay, we have this mind share energy, and we can feel overwhelmed when our mind share is maxed out and it doesn't know where to start. It reminds me of like the first time I went to Costco and I was like, oh, what is happening here? Right? I'm like, should I buy gel pens? I didn't know I needed 100 gel pens. And so that's what's happening in your brain. You're going down the center aisle in Costco and you're trying to buy things that you actually really don't even need, but you think you have to do. So it's first of all doing a brain dump. It's slowing down and allowing for some white space to then decide what your direction is going to be so that you can make progress. So a lot of times, like what you said, is you needed to recognize you actually did get some things done, especially for solopreneurs and entrepreneurs. Our jobs will never be done, and that is okay because we have creative brains and we're constantly thinking and learning and wanting to do more. But because we're always wanting to do more, we don't feel like we're getting anything done. And so then we feel overwhelmed. And so I teach the technique, and it's in my For the Love of Self. And I'm going to give everybody a link at the end so they can go and download it for free. But I teach a technique of slowing down at the beginning of your week, whether you decide to do it on a Sunday, whether you decide to do it on a Monday before opening up your computer and letting email control your life or social media or whatever. And first identifying, like, what are my big rocks for the week? My just 3 for my life. And then we go and we time block for those. So this is the first part of journaling, is getting that out of your brain, identifying it and time blocking for it. So like what you said, when you get to the end of the week and you're doing a little reflection time so that we're living in the gain versus the gap. Great book, by the way, people, Gain in the Gap, is we can recognize what we got done. So we're eliminating that feeling of overwhelm because we can see progress and we've gotten it out of our brain.
I agree. And I'm definitely a progress girl. One of the things that helps me is sometimes I just create this story in my head that I'm overwhelmed. And yes, if somebody else looked at my life, they would more than likely be very overwhelmed. But I deal with this level of go, go, go on such a normal basis. And I have for so many years. And I do stop. Like I start every morning alone in pin drop quiet for at least an hour to 2 hours. I work out religiously every week. I have date nights. For me, a lot of my life is based on balance, Kim, and I'm sure
Yes.
you share that with your
Yes.
clients, that even though you're doing 1,000 things, you know when to turn the computer off, you shut it, you know when to put the phone away, you know when to be present. What kind of things are you sharing with your clients in those areas that can benefit them as well with overwhelm, especially moms of little,
Yes.
because that's the
Oh,
hardest time.
yes, for sure. And it's understanding it's a moment, right? There's a difference between when your kids are 2 and 4, right? They're not in grade school yet. Everything is 100% unpredictable, and we have to be willing to pivot, especially if you work from home or you're the entrepreneur. Most likely, you draw the short straw if all of a sudden the kids are sick and you're staying home. And we can get overwhelmed from that and feel unbalanced from that. But really, it's taking a moment and saying to ourselves, what can I get done? So, whether you're caring for younger kids, whether you have, I don't know, maybe a sick parent, whatever may be going on personally that's starting to commingle with what your job expectations are or your business expectations are, it's taking a moment to ask what you can get done. That's one. And there's hope. For those that are listening that have littles, trust me, there's a beautiful thing when they eventually get into school. It changes because there's some predictability in the schedule. So now you're in a different phase. And then trust me, it changes again. All of a sudden they can drive and you're like, oh crap, I got to stay up till midnight. I can't sleep because I'm worried about my kid who's out there driving, right? So it's just understanding that each phase is going to have a different sort of feeling. And then you brought up the word balance. I understand it. I want balance in my life too, but it's really understanding what your balance is. Like, what does balance mean for you in all 10 areas of your life? Your physical health, your mental health, your family, your social, your all of the areas that I coach to. But it's owning what it means to you. It's deciding what is that going to look like? And we don't feel the same sort of balance in every single area of our life every day, but we can be intentional about identifying what is important to us. Like, is it important that once a quarter, as an entrepreneur, you have 3 to 5 days off in a row? I mean, I teach this thing called the 1-3-5 for entrepreneurs. 1 day a week, 3 days a month, 5 days a quarter, because we know we're not robots. And I've noticed something even with myself. It's like I get really wonky after about a quarter of just pouring into my life and my business without taking a little rest and recovery. And so it's learning your body, right? Like listening to the cues. What does my body need? What does my mind and my spirit need for my balance? My
Yeah.
balance.
My experience when my kids were younger and was running a company as well as had children, and I also was the one that stayed home when they were sick because I could, because I was the entrepreneur. I recognized then in my 20s and early 30s that the signal that came and not allowing myself to be overwhelmed by burnout. And that means being sick in bed for 5 days and goes nowhere. So for those of you that are listening and watching that have young kids, start younger, because you learn the hard way. Your body just shuts down and says, I'm done. And then in my 30s, I finally learned in my 30s, enough is enough. You've got to take care of yourself. And Kim, sometimes when people look at women like you and I with kids in our 20s, because my kids are all in their 20s too, they think, oh gosh, it's so easy. No, we were doing our best to find 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, waking up an hour before the kids, whatever it was. So recognize that doing that now when they're younger will benefit you later, because first of all, you won't get burnt out, and you'll also have more energy for them and be happier and not be as, I don't know, moms, right? 3 little kids. At some point, it's like, oh my gosh, I need a break. So I love all the tips you gave, and they were so wonderful. And I think so important. And what's my favorite thing about having these interviews is that it's not that we don't know these things. It's that we have to be reminded and implement them and work with someone like you that holds us accountable to them. So tell us a little bit about that. You, your business, how you help entrepreneurs and moms and other people as well.
Oh, I love that question. So the majority of the people that I work with, they're making six figures or more. So they're not new. They're, I mean, upwards of 1 million. Maybe they're running small teams. They're all 100% commissioners, all 1099, whatever you want to call it, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. And so what we talk about a lot is our whole body. And so as a high performing individual, in fact, I even have this quote right here. I was reading it before we got on. Oh, I love this one. Unhappiness is not knowing what we want and killing ourselves to get it. And
Ooh,
so
say that again. That was good.
unhappiness is not knowing what we want and killing ourselves to get it.
Oh, I love that.
And so, like, happiness cannot be traveled to or owned or earned. Happiness is the spiritual experience of living every minute with love, grace, and gratitude. But we first have to identify in all of the areas of our life what we want. And I know we started with clarity, but that is truly where it starts. And then once we identify that, we work through lots of exercises that are related to energy and productivity, right? And how do we be productive with our time? And then what are the things that we do? I don't know. I just think the one thing that constantly comes up with working moms is learning that our value is not in doing it all the time, and learning how to ask for help. That is a great takeaway that somebody, and we think differently. I don't know what it is. And I've been married. We're over 27 years now. And my husband just doesn't think the same way that I think. He is not thinking about dinner. He is not thinking about the dishwasher being cleaned out now before we go to vacation, so that when I get home, I'm not worried about that. He just doesn't. And it's understanding that we think differently. But I will tell you this, if I ask for help, if I say, hey, honey, can you do me a favor and empty the dishwasher because I'm still packing? He'll do it. And so I'm not going to have resentment. I'm not going to get ugly. But what I'm going to do is take a moment to identify and ask for help and understand my value is not in doing it all. That's crazy.
Yes. And it's very common. This is not about men. It's just the fact that there's certain things that we just have to ask for them. That's the key. We're all married to someone like that and love them to pieces. So
yes.
I have the same situation. Ask for the help that you need. Yeah. Don't think that they have ESP, even though you ask for the same thing every single day. Just ask again. Please ask again.
Yes.
Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, learn more about you, find you on social media.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, to get a free download from For the Love of Self Journal, you can go to flowworkingmoms.com, FLO, like for love of, so flowworkingmoms.com. And then you can find me anywhere just under Kim Rogne, KIMROGNE.com, at Kim Rogne on Instagram. And once you go to kimrogne.com, you can find a whole bunch of other free downloadables that you might be interested in as well.
And are you all over social media by Kim Rogne?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Easy enough to find you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing such an important topic that many of us do not implement into our life and do not take the time to grow and find the tools to help us, because gosh, it's so important not to be overwhelmed. It just, when you learn to be calm, and I call it calm in chaos, when you learn to be calm in chaos, everything is easier in life. So thank you, Kim. And thank you to everybody watching and listening to another episode of the Successful Women's TV show. I appreciate you. I'm Galit Ventura-Rozen, and I will see you next time. Bye.